This will be video number 2 of our video series on the 1944 Jeep, Willys Jeep that we've purchased and that we're gradually doing work on. So today we're going to highlight a couple things we did this last weekend. I got some help from my older son Zach, who helped me with replacing 3 items on the dash that were problematic. 2 of them were the throttle button and the cabling assembly, and the other one would be the choke, where they're basically a similar type of setup. And then those were both replaced with correct versions, replacements. You can see the throttle, someone just marked a T on there. Neither one of these buttons had the markings for they're supposed to have on them, so we got aftermarket replacements that are accurate. And the third thing we did, besides those 2 cabling assemblies, was replacing the ignition. This is the old ignition. This is the correct ignition for the 44 Jeep. It's just a switch that you switch it to the right to turn on, switch it to the left to turn the vehicle off. The problem is obviously that anybody could just walk up if they know what they're doing with the switch and the starter and just start the vehicle and take off. So some Jeep owners have used cabling to secure the shifter. Some people use other means. We decided to go with this replacement to put a keyed ignition in the vehicle. So that was the third thing we did. So I'll walk around and show you kind of where those are at in the vehicle. So all 3 things are right next to each other right here. So you've got the choke, the ignition with the key, and then the throttle. So like I said, the correct ignition is the switch. The original ignitions in these up until about 1942 were the key, like we have on here now. The military decided that they wanted to go away from the key because if you lose your key and you're in the middle of a battle, you don't want to get to your Jeep and find out you can't start it. So they just did away with the key and added in just the standard switch. So we replaced all 3 of these assemblies. They're a little bit tricky because it was hard to get to underneath this dash, to get to the bolts that held them in, and to reconnect the wiring on the ignition. But like I said, Zach was a big help on that. And then there's all new cabling to connect to the carburetor. So this bottom one is the here is the throttle, top one is the choke. So these were installed and then fine-tuned to make sure they're working properly. So that was the main things we did this last weekend. Another thing that we did is I installed a nice little safety feature, security feature on the back here, which is for the spare tire. This spare tire is held on here by 2 lug nuts that could theoretically just be undone and then your spare tire is gone. So someone came up with an aftermarket idea of this locking mechanism which locks onto one of the nuts. The nice feature about it is that it uses the same key as the ignition. They call this an H700 key. It was a standard key that all the Jeeps had. So this same key works on this lug nut here to undo this, to unsecure it. So kind of nice that it works for both the ignition and the spare tire. The next things on our horizon to work on the vehicle will be placing the radiator. There's a large gash in the radiator that had been in there for unknown reason. So we're going to be working on replacing the radiator with a period correct one. And then the next big thing we're planning on doing is actually repainting the vehicle to a lighter shade of olive drab. The color on here now is a little too dark for me. It's more reminiscent of a vehicle from maybe the 1950s era Jeep in my mind. There's a lot of arguments online about what the correct color of olive drab is for these Jeeps, and the consensus is it's whatever you guys prefer, whatever the owner prefers. So we're decided we're going to go with a lighter shade of olive drab. I'll show you real quick on this siren that we also purchased. This is the color we're going to be going for. It's a more traditional lighter shade of olive drab. So you can see the difference when I place it next to the Jeep. So this siren is a federal signal siren, which is correct to the period. This will be mounted on the right front bumper of the vehicle, help distinguish it as a military police vehicle, which is the look we're going for. But the whole vehicle will be that shade with new decals on it as well, new stenciling. that'll be something we're saving some money up for to get that project done. That'll be a big one. So that's all for now. Again, I want to thank Zach for his work helping me install the items this last weekend, and we will see you guys soon.